Good morning, everyone. Cuckoo clock's going off. Gotta know what that means. Good morning, everyone. I'm gonna have feedback here. Hold, please. Cuckoo, keto cuckoo, as some people call it. Hi, this is Casey Durango of Go Keto with Casey. I talk about how since starting the ketogenic diet, I've lost 97.4 pounds, and I like to speak with other people about how they may be able to lose weight, improve their health, and regain control of their lives. It's a Saturday morning here. This is a live broadcast, Saturday the 27th of January. If you are seeing this outside of the hours of 11 a.m. and about 11:30 a.m. Eastern on January 27th, it is not live. Thank you so much. I am so glad that you're here. And today's topic, it seems like an elementary thing that anything that deals with a diet, and I know some people like to say this is a way of life, it's a way of eating. It is. But diet, taken in its noun form and not just necessarily its verb form, because diet is a noun, this is a ketogenic diet. And for those of you who don't know, a ketogenic diet is one in which you reduce your carbohydrate intake to a point where your liver is not pumping out glucose or sugar for fuel, and your body happily transfers over to burning ketones or fat for fuel. That's what that means. And many people have had success. Many people continue to struggle a little bit. Some people are looking for fantastical results. We see, I lost 60 pounds in 6 weeks. Well, bully for you. That is great if that happened. You are the rare bird if that happens. Weight loss is not automatic. It is a process. For me, as a runt like 5'1", who had a lot of weight to lose, the first year, and I was doing this dead on perfect. I never stumbled a time because I was at the right frame of mind to start it. Not because I'm special, but because that day in January 2014, sitting at my kitchen counter, this very kitchen counter, I saw a video, Dr. Eric Westman in his white coat, and it made sense to me. And I was so far down, everything else looked like up. So I was ready to start. So I just jumped right in, never deviated. The first year, I lost 47 pounds. So if you haven't lost 40 pounds in 2 months, don't despair. And frankly, after the first 30 pounds, I didn't even care. I just didn't want to take insulin for diabetes. I had given up on losing weight. Given up. I owned it. I'd been fat for 30 years. I was 55 years old. And I knew because I'd received the message loud and clear from the medical establishment, from society, from pop culture people, that if you haven't lost weight by, age 40, 45, 50, whatever it is, forget about it. Forget about it. Anyway, so losing weight, feeling better, that's all great. But what about the food? Now, of course we talk about food on a diet. The amazing thing about this diet is it helps so many things in addition to weight loss and fitting in smaller sized jeans. It helps with the management, some would say the cure, of type 2 diabetes. Loss of inflammation in your joints, your hands, your knees, your back, your shoulders. Stop hurting so much. These are wonderful things. And so, of course, it's about the food. It's all about the food. The food is the answer to that. But then we need to get a little bit further. And this is something I'm going to say, and I don't know, frankly, that I'm eloquent enough to explain my point clearly. If if you spend enough time reading books, online, Facebook forum, YouTube channels, etc., everything seems to revolve around, what can I eat? How can I do this? I need a new recipe for thus and such. How can I turn this into keto friendly? I need more recipes. I get asked to do more food videos, and can I tell you, I'm the world's laziest cook. So someone seeing me fry up a pork chop and throwing some green beans in it, it doesn't get any more basic than that. Putting all that aside, how about we quit thinking about food in general? We are so conditioned anyway that everything revolves around food in our lives. Office parties, celebrations, funerals, promotions, drowning our sorrows in ice cream, graduations, family mealtime, snack time, fast food everywhere you turn. Everything is about food. And, okay, so it's kind of inescapable. But just because we're conditioned to it doesn't mean we need to fall for it. And just because we're on some kind of food protocol, diet, doesn't mean we need to be hyper-focused on food all the time, nor should we be. I was. One of the great aspects of the ketogenic diet for me is how liberating it is. Liberating from food. I don't want to think about food anymore. Last week I wore the t-shirt, food is not the boss of me. T-shirts, by the way, they're almost sold out, so thank you for all the support. But that's one of the great things. Food is not the boss of me. Let's step away from the recipe books. Let's step away from the food videos, the food porn. Let's step away from obsessing over food. This way of eating is quite straightforward. Eat fatty sources of protein. Don't eat if you're not hungry, really hungry, not just because it's noon or breakfast time, or because you usually eat at 5. If you're not hungry, don't eat. Stop when you're satisfied. And if that means leaving half your steak on the plate, leave half your steak on the plate. If that means leaving 2 forkfuls of green beans, leave them. Lunch tomorrow if you want it. Or give it to your dog. You don't have to eat it because it's on your plate. And if you're going to eat vegetables, limit them. You don't have to eat vegetables, by the way, not required. There's no minimum requirement for vegetables. Let me repeat that. There's no minimum requirement for vegetables. If you are going to eat vegetables, about a cup or about the size of your own fist of non-starchy vegetables a day, max, and about the size of 2 fists of leafy greens a day, max. That's it. That's it with the food. I recommend you do what works for you, but I recommend not trying to come up with fake versions of the food that got you there in the first place. Don't blame keto for what the almond flour did, nor for what the net carbs did, nor for what the MCT oil did. You don't have to load up on fats. Eat fatty sources of protein. Don't eat if you're not hungry. Stop when you're satisfied. And then get on with your life. Do yourself a favor. Quit trolling for recipes. Once you learn the basics of cooking, it's the same thing over and over, just with different sources of fatty proteins and maybe some different vegetables. It's pretty basic. When people say, but I love, cooking's my hobby. that's fantastic. And if it serves you, well, great. But if you find that you are still obsessing over food, maybe isn't there more to life? I know there is for me. It has freed up so much space in my brain. And I dare say it's made me a better person. I quit avoiding certain things that I needed to deal with in my life. I mean, I was avoiding them by obsessing over food. I've gotten a lot more done. I cleaned out an entire blue room and the closet upstairs. You know, some people have junk drawers. I had a junk room. I cleaned out the whole thing. I don't think I could have done that if I kept obsessing on food. And again, I don't know that I am making the point clear. Not that it's bad to learn new recipes. But if it's a trite analogy, but if you're giving up alcohol because you need to give up alcohol, because alcohol is not good for you, is not your friend, and you know you need to give it up, do you troll alcohol Facebook groups, looking at pictures of alcohol, trying to figure out how to make non-alcoholic alcohol? I don't know, but I tend to think you don't do that. You maybe try to not think about alcohol, not put it in front of your face all the time. This is just what I'm thinking. Okay, and Moose Fisher, I just see a question come up. In a polite way, how do I stay regular without eating vegetables with no problem whatsoever? Keep in mind that people who have problems with going, when they're burning sugar, when they're a sugar burner, when you're on the standard American diet, piling on the vegetables to get all that fiber, it's possible that it's being a sugar burner that's interfering, because we're really beautifully designed to burn fat for fuel. Evolutionarily, that's what we did. Dr. Michael Eads of Protein Power said it great. We didn't evolve to eat meat. We evolved because we ate meat. And so our bodies pretty much usually know what to do. So I have now I was concerned when I started. I have a big old container of Metamucil, which is probably caked to a brick right now because I haven't needed it. Everything moves along just fine. Remember that certain things, people have found out they thought they were lactose intolerant when they were a sugar burner. They start burning fat for fuel. They're delighting in cheese and sour cream. By the way, added fats like cheese and sour cream, they're allowed. They're not compulsory, and they are not unlimited. Just because it's on the food list, which you can find everywhere, but you can find the one I followed at my blog, CaseyDurango.com. It's under the resources. Feel free to download it. You know, the line is, if it's not on the list, don't eat it. But just because it is on the list doesn't mean you must eat it. And there are limits on certain things. Can I have a glass of Diet Coke Zero for a snack? Sonia Flores. Buenos dias. I don't know if you speak Spanish or not. I got your message earlier today. How many carbs? None. Yes, you can. My husband and I like Coke Zero. We don't drink it all the time, but if we drink a soda like that, it's probably going to be Coke Zero. We drink Crystal Light. We are not afraid of Splenda. The debate over artificial sweeteners is probably a big distraction and possibly not an accidental one. I'm sure the sugar industry loves the dire warnings of non-sugar sweeteners. So, again, do what works for you. Do what you like. I don't get a vote on what you do for your hobby. And if your hobby is collecting cookbooks and perusing them and touching them and loving them, that's great. But maybe you want to step away from it for a bit and say, I want to, for 1 week, I am not going to look at recipes and food videos. I am going to prepare my food the way I know how, which is using, again, cast iron skillet starts you off in the right place. Prepare the food, eat the food, forget about the food. Think about it. Under even the most flamboyant circumstances, you can make a huge spread. Let's use the often pointed out meme of, it takes 6 hours to prepare a Thanksgiving meal and it's over in 15 minutes. So that's on a huge meal, right? But on the average day, say you prepare and eat 3 meals a day, which I don't. It probably takes 10 minutes to eat each one. So that's 30 minutes out of the day of actual eating. But how much time did you spend? How much time did you burn looking for recipes, looking for books, watching food videos? Get a couple of good ideas and go from there. This is essentially a variation on the theme, cooking the ketogenic diet. I have a couple of good casserole recipes. I'll tell you the source I went to when I started, and I still go to it. It's not a ketogenic source. It was based more on the original Atkins. It's a very old website, Linda's Low Carb. Just search Linda's Low Carb, and it's very, very straightforward. The recipes that are marked with an asterisk are what she calls induction friendly. And the ketogenic diet is essentially Atkins' induction phase, which he had for 2 weeks, the first 2 weeks. And you just never come out of the induction phase. I got a couple of good recipes for casseroles, which I don't make all the time, but they're handy. Tweaked them as I had ingredients. And the rest is cooking or grilling a fatty source of protein with or without a vegetable on the side. Sometimes my husband likes sour cream. He puts it on different things. Not unlimited. Snack, don't have to think about it. A couple of ounces of cheese a day. Very good. Boiled eggs. How about we just not think about food so much? Yes, this is a diet in the noun form of the word. Noun. It's a diet. It's a protocol. It's a nutrition protocol. But the food does not have to be the center of your life. I am so happy that food is no longer the center of my life. I felt like a captive. When I was burning sugar for fuel, my brain was telling me to eat every couple of hours. It's the way our brain was designed. It's performing as designed. Because you can't store glucose in your blood, so your brain needed to tell you to eat more to get a fresh supply of glucose every 2 or 3 hours. Which is why, when you're eating carbs, even the so-called healthy breakfast of, oatmeal and a glass of orange juice, which is pure sugar. The oatmeal is sugar. The orange juice is sugar. It's all sugar. Slice of whole grain bread is sugar. So you've eaten it, and 2 hours later, you're like, I'm hungry. Well, you're not hungry. Your food is still in your stomach, probably. But your brain thinks you're hungry because it's burned up its quick source of fuel, which is glucose. When you're burning fat for fuel, you don't have to do that. Your brain is perfectly happy burning ketones, and you've got plenty of fat cells on your body, even if you're a lean person. Tens of thousands of calories of energy on board. So that's my thought on that. Try a little experiment. See how much more you can get done in a day, a week, a month, when you look back on it, when you've not been focused on food. And that's one of the great things about this diet. Again, keep your carbs 20 grams or fewer a day. Total, not net. Eat fatty sources of protein. Don't eat if you're not hungry. Stop when you're satisfied. And some people are afraid. Hey, Demetria. Some people are afraid. Oh my God, I know I'm not eating enough. People around you say, oh my God, you're going to starve. They go from thinking, wow, Casey could lose a few, to immediately, oh my God, she's becoming anorexic. No. I eat. I eat when I'm hungry. Sometimes I eat when I don't need to eat. you know, not that often. Sometimes I just eat because, it's there, eating with my lovely guy. I don't usually eat out of boredom anymore. I don't eat out of habit. Um, Sometimes I eat one large meal every day and a half. Sometimes I eat a couple of small meals every day. Some days I eat almost nothing. Don't fear that. Okay, Deb Ritchie popped in. At last I made a live show. Yay, I'm so glad you're here. A couple of things, and then I'm going to get back to look at some questions if I can. They go by pretty quickly. First of all, the Go Keto with Casey Roadshow, the middle of March, St. Patty's Day. There's going to be a wine reception Friday the 16th. Dr. Eric Westman and Jackie Eberstein will be there, as will I. But the meat of the program, no pun intended, will be Saturday the 17th in Greensboro. They will be presenting, I will be presenting, and participants will be presenting real life stories of real life people. Whoever wants to, and no one needs to, but people can get up and share their stories, how they've gotten off of buku of medications, how they've lost weight, how they got out of bed. Questions and answers from these two they're just so, they're these world experts on this nutrition protocol. I will answer any questions I can about my life experience with this. So from a layperson's perspective. If you are interested in going, you can register. There is a fee to register to cover everyone's expenses. At CaseyDurango.com, register. We've got people coming from Florida, Alabama, Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, West Virginia, Maryland, Delaware, New Jersey, Minnesota, Oklahoma, and Oregon so far. So it's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to have a late lunch together after at the favorite Mexican restaurant with my lovely mate and I. And then it's St. Patty's Day. We can all get together and become Irish. I actually am of Irish ancestry. My great-grand was off the boat from Ireland, Katie Devine. And Sunday morning, those who want to stay in, we can get together for brunch. So I hope that some folks can make it. It should be a very good time. And I want to give a plug. Some of you are here to my patrons from patreon.com. A lot of my content that is the focus of my content production now, our patrons. And if you're interested in pledging and you get patron-only content, you can go to patreon.com. That's patreon.com/Go Keto with Casey. And it's a very great group there. And there's a private patron-only forum, which is wonderful and full of supportive people. As I've said, I believe people pledge not to get access to me, but to get access to each other. Faye Wiltshire, you have Irish blood. Is that okay? You're a Brit. I know that there's some stuff about that. 1 million. Okay, a Sherry close. Casey, still can't find the reduced price for patrons. I need to know this before registering. There's a code, but I can't tell you what it is. Are you a patron? Yes, you are. Go to Patreon. I can't say it here because then people will use the code, and it really is just for patrons. I'll send it to you. Hey, Stacy. Stacy sent me coffee. You see that in the background? She sent me coffee. Colombian coffee. That was cool. Can't wait. I'm going to save that for probably tomorrow morning to brew up a nice batch of it. Theresa Frady, hoping to make it up, trying to decide if I want to get a room for Friday night also. It's really not that far from Charlotte, but leaving at 6:30 a.m. is painful to think about. Yeah, although, I don't know if you've driven to Greensboro before. It's not a bad drive, but yeah, it's a couple of hours. The wine reception should be fun. That is not included in the registration, by the way, but it should be fun, and Dr. Westman and Jackie will be there, and you can just talk to them. I mean, they're the nicest people. Okay, so enough about that. Any questions that someone thinks I might be able? Okay, Sharon Preston, stalled out big time, 20 total carbs or less a day. People say they're stalled. Now, how long do you say your stall has last, Sharon? If you can share. I just got to notice, someone bought a shirt and now that size is out. We're out of most sizes now. I don't know that we'll get any more shirts in. I guess I'll wait and see if people want them. So, Sharon, how long have you been stalled? 4 weeks? That is right at, have you lost any inches? Do you measure? Are your clothes fitting looser? Dr. Westman states that a true stall is only a stall if you have lost 0 fractions of a pound and 0 fractions of inches for 4 weeks. So you're right there. If you are in ketosis, do you know that you are in ketosis? And you don't have to measure, but it's a helpful tool, either by the urine sticks or blood testing, which is still the gold standard. If you're in ketosis and you're not losing for 4 weeks and no inches lost, here's what I ask people when I'm talking to them. If you are in ketosis burning fat for fuel, that's good. Tick that box off. Are you overeating dietary fat? Which is easy to do because there are many sources out there that say, well, then if you're measuring blood 1.6, you're in ketosis, cool. Are you overeating dietary fat? Keep in mind, following the ketogenic protocol is not a weight loss diet. It's a fat burning diet. It just means your body's burning fat for fuel. So if you are overeating dietary fat, which can come in many forms, but a lot of people, it comes in the form of bulletproof coffee, putting MCT oil in your coffee or tea, putting butter and coconut oil in and some people do all three. Butter, coconut oil, and MCT oil. That's a lot of fat. Or eating fat bombs. Remember that if you're eating all the fat, you're burning fat for fuel, and your body has energy requirements for any given day. If you're drinking or eating all the fat your body needs for its energy requirements, it's not going to burn what you've got on your tuchus. If you are not overeating dietary fat, are you simply eating more food than your body needs? That was where I got hung up. The hardest part of this for me, the most challenging, was learning to eat. Learning to not eat if I wasn't hungry. I've actually kind of flipped the way I'm describing that. Because I want the start of the idea to be, don't eat if you're not hungry. Not eat when you're hungry. Don't eat if you're not hungry. And that is a challenge because we're so used to eating out of habit from the hours on the clock. Oh, I usually eat at 3:30 because when you're a sugar burner, you usually are actually being told to eat by your brain at 3:30 because you need insulin and all that stuff. And keep in mind that people are so afraid of being hungry. Let's not forget there are people who actually know true hunger, like they don't have enough food in their world. Being hungry hunger does not equal sudden death. Be hungry for a minute. You're not going to die. Now, if you are someone who has hypoglycemia, if you suffer from low blood pressure, low blood sugar, and that's your special case, then be careful. And don't listen to any talking head on Facebook or YouTube or anywhere else to tell you about your medical needs. Don't listen to anybody, including me. We are all responsible for managing our health. But hunger is okay. Sometimes it can feel kind of good. Sometimes you feel kind of triumphant. Yay. You're not going to pass out if you take a 2-hour car drive and you don't stop and you don't have food in the car with you. When you're burning fat for fuel, you don't get hunger the way you might have experienced that when you were burning sugar for fuel. It's a different process. I kind of like the feeling of emptiness and lightness. At some point, you're empty enough, and then it's time to eat. But even then, I don't fear. Even if I'm really hungry, I haven't eaten. Whatever happened, I got busy. I was out and about. I just didn't eat. And it's been since yesterday at 4 since I ate the last time. And now it's today at 3:30. I don't worry, oh my goodness, I'm going to fall out right here in the middle of the credit union making my deposits. No, it'll be okay. Another thing, let's just stop thinking about the food so much. No. I'm sorry, Barb, I will not, and I will not recommend that. I'm not a fan. Faye Wilshire asks, do I fast? I'm fasting right now because guess what? I'm not eating. I'm not a fan. People do what you want to do. No, I'm not going to arbitrarily not eat if I truly am hungry and need to eat, any more than I'm going to arbitrarily eat just because it's breakfast time or noon time. Patty Miller, I've dropped down to 10 carbs a day, still not losing, but will not give up. I'm in keto and I have been for the last 9 weeks. I don't know if it is my thyroid. I can't speak to thyroid, but Dr. Westman has said hyperthyroid, hypothyroid, no gallbladder, no problem. And again, at some point, you have to make sure you're not eating more food than your body needs for its energy requirements. I eat a lot less food than I ate in the beginning. I'm older. I weigh a lot less. I have different energy requirements. So I eat less. Keep in mind. And you're not going to screw up your metabolism this way. Our metabolisms slow up anytime you lose weight. As long as you're not overtaxing things. You know, the Biggest Loser thing, my understanding is that many of the participants really did impact their metabolism because they were trying to do two things at the same time. Greatly reduce calories, restrict calories, and greatly increase activity. So you're asking your body to stress out at two different levels. So of course the metabolism says, whoa, we need to slow this down because you are moving so much. We're going to require that you need even less food because this is crazy. If you're going to try to survive on 1,400 calories a day and you're going to work out 6 hours a day, we got to recalibrate things. But it will not ruin your... Again, I'm fasting right now. You are too, unless you're eating. Fasting. All fasting means is you're not eating. But I'm not going to, but I know in general terms, I'm not going to do that. Some people do it for spiritual reasons, religious reasons, absolutely. And if you like it, do it. I've done it before because I experimented. But I did find after a while where I could do it, I started to have intrusive thoughts of food. And I don't want that anymore. I lived that for too long. I thought about food all the time. And I don't want that. One of the great liberating things, again, the topic of this little chat is food is not the boss of me. I don't focus on food. Let's not focus on food. Let's step away from the recipes and the videos and the obsessing over the food. And I don't want intrusive thoughts of food. Just me, though. Yolanda Green Prince, can you do keto on if you're having kidney dialysis? That is a very specific medical question that I am not authorized to answer. Tammy Olian, my monthly lupus infusions always kick me out of ketosis for 3 or 4 days. Very depressing when I'm working so hard on weight loss. I don't know what a lupus infusion is. I do know that one of my patrons just shared yesterday that she's off her lupus medication due to keto. So I wonder. Trino, Sorochinsky, my doctor just reduced my thyroid medications. Fantastic. Okay. Okay, guys, I'm going to start to wrap up. If anyone has anything they want to share, any particular challenges coming up or specific questions that either I or someone, because there's a lot of collective knowledge here. Let me see. Okay, again, I'm going to start to wrap up. I hope to see some of you at the Go Keto with Casey Roadshow event in March. You can see the registration information at caseydurango.com. And thank you to my patrons if you're interested in becoming a patron, where I do daily, weekday morning snippets. Sit in my kitchen with pillow hair and no makeup, and sometimes before coffee, so there's no telling what will come out of my mouth. I do those weekday mornings for patrons, and plus a patron-only live stream. And then some patrons, we have weekly or monthly, several times a month, group video chats. By the way, we have one tomorrow, y'all. You are on here. I'll be sending out the login information. And others get one-on-one coaching. So, there you are. Okay, thanks. Take on monk fruit. Don't know anything about monk fruit. Can't speak to it. Keto rash. Okay. I did not experience it. Many people have. Drs. Finney and Westman have both said they've heard of it, but they have not really seen it, but they believe it must happen. Here would be my layman's guess on it, because people do say it, and it subsides. If you think about the fact that the ketogenic diet is very anti-inflammatory, so if joints and your organs, it reduces the inflammation. This is pretty well established now. Skin is your largest organ. And think of it as, wow, if I got the keto rash, I must really be doing this right, because think of it as kind of detoxing. It's pushing stuff out. And it will subside. That has been what I have heard. I've not experienced it, but that is what I've heard. Hey, Peggy. Hey, Peggy, I have been thinking about you. I am so glad to see you. I hope everything's going well with you, Peggy. It's been a while. Hey, Patty, I'm glad you like the daily pep talks. That's great. Thanks a lot. Everyone have a great weekend. And if you find that all you do is peruse groups to look at food, see if you can step away from the food, really. Let's not, we don't hyper-focus on our urinary output, which is also a very important part of life. We don't hyper-focus on other things that are very important to sustaining life. Let's step away. Let's try. People say, I can't do this. I'm addicted to carbs. Well, if that is truly the case, by the way, we're all addicted to sugar. It's the way we're wired. Then quit staring at food. And that sounds harsh. Don't mean it to be harsh. It's just kind of relating to my own experience. This was all a process for me. I didn't start up like that. But it's a process. Stop thinking about food and get out and live your life. Take up gardening or knitting or cycling. Volunteer. Spend more time with your spouse. Find a spouse. Handwrite a letter to a friend you haven't spoken with in a while. Do something else. That's what I'm trying to do. Thanks a lot, guys. Have a good one. See you around. And I appreciate you allowing me into your homes. Hopefully I'll see you next week. God willing, and the creek don't rise, as we say in the South.